Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
So basically, Nikki D has kind of introduced our next topic by asking, what are your thoughts on Chris Hemsworth's comments on not forgiving himself for Thor, Love and Thunder, allowing the character to become a parody of himself, which is a perfect summary of what is our next subject, which is a wide-ranging interview with Vanity Fair, which Chris Hemsworth did. It's quite interesting, actually. The whole interview is interesting, but his comments very specifically about Thor are what I think was very, very revealing. And it's quite revealing stuff, actually. He's pretty just straight up and honest about it. So we'll take a look at that. So scroll through all of this. So basically, he says he was a 25-year-old unknown when he booked Thor, one of the great gifts of his life. So that's interesting. Yeah, sure. And then it says like this: grateful as he was for the opportunity, Hemsworth grew frustrated playing Thor. Sometimes I felt like a security guard for the team, he says. I would read everyone else's lines and go, oh, they got way cooler stuff. They're having more fun. What's my character doing? It was always about, you've got the wig on, you've got the muscles, you've got the costume. Where's the lightning? Yeah, I'm part of this big thing, but I'm probably or pretty replaceable.
Oh.
So he genuinely thought it was replaceable. And he genuinely
did not
thought
understand the character.
Absolutely bugger all, essentially. And then we get this. This is
Superman. What the fuck is he thinking?
Yeah.
Hey?
He doesn't get the character. He never did.
Yeah, I guess
Thor is a god.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the thing. Thor, like, there's not very many that are above him in the Marvel universe, right? Like, I mean, he's basically ostensibly the Superman of their group, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then we go on to what I think is quite revealing. So it says here, when Taika Waititi came on board to direct 2017's Thor Ragnarok, he was as eager to tweak the Thor character as its megastar, Chris Hemsworth. They decided to have fun with the tone, letting Hemsworth dig into his natural comedic gifts with the character. Wonderfully reduced to a god with a dad bod, wallowing and brokenhearted. Pretty much, I think everyone pretty much hated that, to be honest. And then we get this. Where is it? So, Love and Thunder. Chris Hemsworth can't forgive himself for it. I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness and became a parody of myself. I didn't stick the landing.
At least he admits it.
Yeah.
Because there is humor. Yeah, because there is humor in Thor. Like, I didn't hate Ragnarok. That's a debatable one among fans.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that they nailed his humor in those little specials they did where he had that roommate on Earth. I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I like those.
Those were hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, if they would have done a Disney Plus series of that, I would have watched that. Like, it was hilarious to watch because that's what Thor is. He's completely oblivious to the facts of, you know, his powers and the people around him and how people are reacting to him. That's the humor in it, right? So that was where you pick in and find the funny stuff with Thor. The stuff they were doing in Love and Thunder felt like Ghostbusters 2016. And even Taika Waititi said himself in an interview that they sacrificed the story for jokes. And I'm like, dude, you should know better, right? It doesn't matter how funny your movie is. And especially when you got a movie about cancer, come on, dude. Like, and I still said he did it pretty dirty because not everybody was even a fan of Padme's character, Natalie Portman's character. What's her name? Foster or whatever, Jane Foster. But I still feel like they did the too dirty in that movie because their last kind of few moments together were real crap. It's like, really, that's how you're gonna play out their romance there? Yeah, great. Anyway, I'm at least I'll give him credit for admitting that he fucked up.
Agree with that.
And I wouldn't put all the blame on him. I mean, it is definitely a lot of it came from the writers of.
Oh no, it's 90% what Taika Waititi for sure.
Yeah, you know, he was trying to do what he could do with what he was given. Unfortunately, he was given crap. But yeah, I would have much rather seen a Thor and his roommate Daryl. Daryl was his name.
Daryl, that was yes.
And seen them, do a show on that than Love and Thunder. Like they should have scrapped that whole thing. And the thing is, like Ragnarok, like Tom was saying, I liked Ragnarok. I liked the shift in tone for the Thor character in that movie, but I liked it as a one-off. They should have gotten back to him being serious and all that sort of stuff, right afterwards, or started moving him back in that direction. Because that was the one thing I didn't like, is when they just kept, basically using him, as a joke or something.
Yeah.
Well, and it was on the heels of Endgame, so they should have done more with the character, right?
Yeah.
Like they did all that stupid Zen crap and the
Yeah.
stuff with the Guardians and all that stuff in the beginning, and it's like it was just so. It was one of the worst experiences I'd ever had in a theater. Like it was just wincing cringe. Exactly. You're just like, when you just get to that point where you can't even sit in your chair anymore. You're just all like, just come on, guys. You think sooner or later you can figure this out, But that was how I was feeling through the whole movie. It's like, what did you do with this?
Yeah.
It's like, because like there is some good moments in it, unfortunately, but other than that, it's like it's a shit film.
Yeah.
Because you get the great moment with him and his mom and stuff like that. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that they destroyed his character long ago. I thought one of the worst things, again, as much as I enjoyed the film, the first Taika Big Titty Guy film, Ragnarok or whatever, I thought that was fine. But I thought that leaning that far into the goofiness of the character kind of wrecked it. And then moving forward, I mean, Fat Thor pissed me off so badly. I'm like, this guy's a god. He would never get fat. I'm like, this is not how the Force works, you guys. So, I felt like, and he allowed it to happen. I mean, and I think like the most telling commentary on this was like right after the last film release, where he's like, I'm not going to let some avant-garde asshat, run my character again into the ground. So the fact that he's taking responsibility for it to some extent is a good thing, because he could have just said, no, I'm not doing this again. We got away with it in Ragnarok, but moving forward, I mean, playing me up is dumb. I mean, like I said, they just kept diminishing the character. It was one of my favorite Marvel comics. So and the fact that, Hemsworth did such a great job with it initially. The first film he was in was brilliant. The second film was dog shit of his own solo films, but that was more because it was just a bad story written poorly. His other appearances in Avengers and everything else, the fact that he wasn't really dumb, he just was unaware of the other worlds, because his life had been so immature and in pursuit of conflict and everything else, where conflict showed up at his door by the time we get to Avengers. Now the character's been so used for humor.
Yeah, I liked when they just leaned into the frat boy a little bit more. I liked that aspect.
Yeah, there's very, very little there that could be called redeeming, in my opinion. So it's just difficult for somebody like me who has such a great love of the character. So I wish he'd have said something sooner. Maybe Thor: Love and Cancer would have been a better film. I don't know.
Well, it should have been a serious film. That's the problem. He's losing Jane, obviously. Plus, the thing that I felt like was brushed over that was really bad was the whole idea of, I liked that he was harboring, I don't like Fat Thor, but I liked that he was harboring this burden that it was his fault that Endgame went the way it did, right? Like he was, that the fight with Thanos, he should have been able to stop him. And he's right. He probably should have been able to at the end of the day. And they just kind of brush over that, right? It's just kind of sprinkled in here and there. And it's like, no. That was something that really bothered him. And you needed to play that out properly. Plus him losing the love of his life, right? There's so much here that you're dancing with, but you're playing this stupid game of, we gots to have jokes. It's like, no, culture's right. Ragnarok took it as far as it could go. If you want to do a comedy thing, then do it with Daryl. I'm all for that. That's where you can have fun with the fish out of water stuff and play with it and do all the goofiness you want. But when you did this movie, this should have been back to the serious Thor again, because he's got to reinvent himself and pick himself back up after the obvious failure that was, Thanos. That was the one thing most fans liked, is that they actually did make that stick. Even though they nerfed it a little bit with Endgame, they still made it stick that people disappeared for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So that part was
Yeah.
true, at least. So I mean, some people were like, no, they should have all the way with it, and those people actually died, and that would have been a good place to kind of, shake things up. But hey, it is what it is. We're at where we're at now, and I think most people don't give a shit. I'm glad Hemsworth finally said something and take some responsibility for it, because this is what Hollywood needs to do more, instead of like we just saw with the Russos and other people trying to low-key blame the audience or flat out blame the audience. He's going, no, it's on us, right? Like, this is a Schumacher move. This is how you get the fans back on your side, by saying, yep, I fucked up. Next time, hopefully I'll do better. If there is a next time. That's how you win them over.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll agree with that. Anyways, it's just interesting to take a look at and see. He's made a fair few comments about this now, and he's consistent, which is good. It goes to show that it wasn't just flippant. He wasn't just doing it for PR sake. He's been really consistent on all of this ever since that film. So good on him.
Hopefully he doesn't come back and play that character again unless he gets a script that's written well for that character.
Yeah, because he's waffled a bit on it, right? Yeah. I mean, he's like, no, I'm done. And then he's like, well, no,
he's open to coming back, Mm-hmm.
Well, he's been pretty consistent on what was the failings of the character in the end.
Taika Waititi was the failings of the character. I mean, let's just be fair. And it's for those of you that are wishing a happy birthday to Mr. H. Thank you. I know he appreciates it. So there's a lot in the chat.
We'll shuffle on now.